Hello and welcome into today's edition of the Arizona State Sun Devils Insider Podcast. My name is Kevin Hicks, and I'm so grateful to be joining you once again on this beautiful Friday afternoon. And I am grateful to have a very talented intern for the ASU NSI site in Tanner Capolini with me today. Hey Tanner, how's it going today? Just before we get started, please give us a little background on your passions in the media industry, where you went to school, and maybe something that people might find interesting about you, like a hobby or something.
Yeah, well, thank you, Kevin, so much for having me on. I've been really loving my time writing for ASU on SI. It's been a real treat and a privilege. I went to ASU, really enjoyed it there, so it's been cool to write about my grad school. One thing that I think people might not know about me is I'm very passionate about football. That's what we're going to be discussing today. I'm super excited, but I've been really getting into the wrestling and the swimming programs for ASU. That's been really intriguing to write about those. I've been really enjoying that side of those sports as well.
All right, that's great. Yeah. People don't realize that ASU has a lot of great athletic programs. It's not just the football program, it goes beyond that. And it has historically as well. The baseball program is arguably the most successful out of any program ever. So yeah, there's so much to write about with ASU, and I'm grateful to have Tanner on the team as well. And yeah, we're gonna get started today. First week of fall camp wrapped up on Friday morning, and it was overall a good week. Thursday was a little bit of a struggle. Most of you probably saw Kenny Dillingham kind of berate his team a little bit for the lack of passion, as he described it. But Wednesday was a phenomenal day, and Friday was a pretty good day in general. Uh, and that's a perfect segue into discussing sleepers for this Arizona State team with just about 4 weeks until the season opener. So, on my part, I just wanted to begin by bringing up Jaron Hamilton. He is a transfer from Alabama, a wide receiver. He was a 2023 commit to Alabama, so he played under both Nick Saban and Kalen DeBoer, and he did not receive too much playing time. He decided to transfer, hit the portal in December of last year, and committed to ASU within a week, I believe, because of the vision that Kenny Dillingham and Marcus Arroyo sold him. And he has been nothing short of spectacular so far, based off of what I've seen. He made two incredible catches that would have gone for touchdowns if it was a real game. His release is incredible. His breakaway speed is it's just something that you have to marvel in person, because the coaching staff has stated that his top speed is about 22 miles an hour, which is NFL speed. You really don't see that. It really doesn't register for you until you see it in person. And he is a special player to me, and he is a player that really could break out as the complement to Jordan Tyson in that wide receiver room. Uh, what are your thoughts on potential sleepers for for the Arizona State team, Tanner?
Yeah, before I mention mine, I do like that pick for Hamilton. For me, I do think the receivers one and two, it's going to be Jordan Tyson and Jalen Moss. I'm a huge Jalen Moss fan. I've wrote about him a couple of times. But Jordan Tyson's probably going to leave ASU after this season for the draft. So Hamilton could be a good future piece. So that will be kind of exciting. And I could see ASU, and I want to kind of know your thoughts on this, and then I'll answer the sleeper question is we agree Tyson's going to be a number one. Do you think that they could use kind of multiple receivers, like not have a true number two, but have like 2A, a 2B, a 2C, kind of run different receivers out there, like Hamilton, Moss, McLean? Like, could you see that?
That's a great question, and yeah, I do believe that that is something that will be very much under consideration for Marcus Arroyo. Like this, people not enough people are talking about the overall talent on the offensive side of the ball for the Sun Devils. Last year, it was a bit of a struggle in the even though they did score 45 points against Iowa State and 31 against Texas, it was a bit of a struggle at times for receivers to create separation with no Jordan Tyson out there. Obviously, Xavier Guillory was in for a big play every once in a while, but he wasn't all that consistent. Obviously, like he's still a good player, but they're really looking for consistency, and I believe in this wide receiver room, there's a lot of variety in terms of what these players bring to the table skill set wise, where you can line them up on the field. The versatility is obviously there. Even players that weren't mentioned, like Zechariah Sample, he has been very impressive so far through uh, fall camp so far. He had a standout day on Thursday, and I wrote about that. Noble Johnson has made a couple of impressive catches. The transfer from Clemson. Uh, this room is really predicated on the versatility, having a high level guy like Tyson Marine can line up anywhere on the field. Different body types, like Zechariah Sample is under 6 feet tall, a little smaller build, and then you have a guy like Noble Johnson that's a NFL build. There's just a lot of oh, I keep on using the word versatility, and that's cliche, but that's just the case
It's
there.
true.
And and like you said with Jalen Moss is that possession receiver that they very much need. He's a great ball tracker. He's great when it comes to contested catching. He's great at securing 50-50 balls. He's also a great punt returner. He was a all first team Mountain West for special teams, I believe, last season. So, yeah, I do believe that it is kind of a wide receiver by committee situation, but that's probably a good problem for them this year, just like the running back situation where they have three guys that are equally capable and talented in that room as well. So, yeah, I do believe that that will be something that they take a look at, especially based on matchups and all that.
Yeah, that's how stuff's gonna be, I think, decided. So I'll get into the sleepers here. Kind of talking about the offense. I feel like as a whole, the ASU fan base is really good at recognizing their players. But I do have Josh Atkins as one of my sleepers. He is a starter. All three of the guys I have are starters, but I feel like Atkins had a really good year last year. Cam Scatterbo was obviously amazing last year, and a lot of Scatterbo's best plays was himself, his vision, his strength, all that stuff. But I do think Josh Atkins did a really good job, especially being a left tackle, protecting Sam Levitt's blind side. I was really impressed with Atkins. So I just think he needs more respect, kind of from a national level, I'll say. And then I'll go for another sleeper here on the D line. I have Clayton Smith. He was the first piece I wrote about for ASU on this eye, and the pass rush for ASU last year could have been better. I think everyone kind of agrees with that to a degree. Smith has the physical tools. He's really fast. He has some really good power. And I think that if the Sun Devils really want to kind of have another year of winning the Big 12, their pass rush needs to get better. I like guys on the D line, CJ Fight, some of those other players. But I really do like Clayton Smith. He's really stood out to me, and I could see him having a big year. We have seen that in college before. It seems like every year there's an edge rusher who just breaks out at this insane level. So, yeah, that's who I have for two of my sleepers. I have a third one, but I'll let you list off some others.
Oh, you can go ahead with your third.
Uh, okay, and then I got Javon Robinson here, the cornerback. Again, kind of from more of a national level perspective. Um, I have made it no secret I'm a huge fan of Keith Abney. He's one of my favorite players on the Sun Devils, and he gets talked about a lot in high regard for a great reason. But I do think Robinson as well should be kind of close to that conversation. He's very athletic, really good at making those big plays, and that's really hard for a cornerback to do because you have to be very disciplined. It's so easy to try to go for an interception, you miss it, and you allow a big play. And I think Robinson is really good at being balanced. I think that's very important at, especially in the college level. So I do have Robinson as well. Again, these are all three starting players for the Sun Devils, but I think ones that could very much be big impact players this season in some of these tight matchups we're going to mention later.
Yes, I fully agree with you on all three of those. Uh, it's actually great that you brought that up because media received the official roster for Arizona State for the upcoming season with updated heights and weights, and Clayton Smith gained 15 pounds this offseason.
Mm.
So he's a lot stronger. He looks a lot stronger, and he looks like he has roughly the same amount of explosiveness as last season. And most Arizona State fans know he was a former five-star recruit. He originally committed to Oklahoma. It didn't really work out for him there, but everybody, at least people within the Sun Devil fan base, know the talent that is there with him. And like you said, the edge rushing room should be better this year because you're getting Prince Dorba back healthy. You're getting the potentially better version of Clayton Smith. Justin Watley lost 15 pounds and he's focusing on coming off the edge this season. So there are a lot of options. Brian Ward is very aggressive in his approach to the defensive side of the ball. We know he likes to take chances, and that's where Javen Robinson comes in as well. You nailed that as well. He was one of the players that impressed me the most on in Friday's practice and today's practice. Um, he's just very very steady. Doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. He's pretty versatile. He can play in the slot. He can play outside. Uh, Obviously, you probably prefer to play a Kendrick Breedlove at nickel more, but Robinson can do a little bit of everything. Obviously, he made one of the biggest plays of the season last year when he intercepted Jake Retzloff. That secured the win against BYU. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to with this Arizona State defense that could be just as good as the offense. Could be even better with the 10 of 11 starters returning. So there's a lot to look forward to there. And that is a great segue into the next segment of the show. We're going to talk about what is probably the most talked about player, the most in the spotlight player on the team in Sam Levitt. He's obviously entering a second season as Arizona State's quarterback after transferring from Michigan State following an up and down freshman season there. And he really came from out of nowhere. There were many publications that were ranking him at or near the bottom of the Big 12 in terms of the quality of the quarterback. Uh, and he broke out. He won Big 12 Freshman of the Year last year. He's in Heisman discussions this year. He's in NFL draft conversations this year. He's taken major steps forward as a quarterback, not just a football player. And uh, we're just going to talk about our expectations for him this year and what his ceiling really is and how far he can take the Sun Devils. So I'd just like to ask you your thoughts on that first, Tanner.
Yeah, so I think Sam Levitt this year is going to have more everything, more yards, touchdowns, interceptions, for a couple of reasons. I do think that last year Cam Scatterbo was such a vital piece to Levitt's success. And that's the same case with every great running back with a great quarterback. It just provides you with some consistency. And I do like the players that ASU has on their running back roster. There's some really talented players, but Scatabo is special, really. So I do think Levitt, they're going to have him throw more. So I kind of did a little stat prediction. So last year he had 24 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions. This year I have him at 28 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. And then for yards, last year he had 2,885. This year I think he has 3,200-ish. So definitely a lot more. With Levitt, I do really like his play in the short medium field area. I think he has really good accuracy there. In one of my pieces for ASU on SI, I compared him to Bo Nix. They are both very mobile. Both can really just get out quickly. I do think his deep ball at times could be better. He has some really good throws. I do think at times the footwork could be a bit better. But overall, he can still throw the ball deep very well. My main thing, and I've mentioned this a couple of times in my pieces, is I want to see just the mobile factor go up. I really like the way he can scramble. He's really quick, not only like just fast, but his acceleration. He can reach his top speed at a very fast rate, and I really want to see them do a lot of stuff with Levitt running. I think that could be really a big piece of his game. That could help the running game. That could help the running backs. It can just help so much. So I think as a passer, just improve the deep ball a bit. But really, I think tapping into his speed running game, I think could be good. And I think a lot of his best plays last year were him on the run.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you very, very strong analysis there. There's a lot to like about Levitt's game. He's generally very strong when it comes to layering passes, when it comes to throwing from different angles, uh, accuracy wise. He has, like you said, he has a very strong deep ball. Like he has a big arm. Sometimes the accuracy is inconsistent, but the
Mm-hmm.
throws the throws we both saw him make, the throws that Arizona State fans saw him make all of last season. A quarterback in Tempe hasn't made those throws consistently since Jaden Daniels as a freshman, probably. So it goes back several years. Levitt just, he's also wise beyond his years, is a 20-year-old quarterback. There are some concerns with him or question marks. I wouldn't say concerns. Uh, he holds the ball a little too long sometimes. I believe
Mm-hmm.
the average time he held the ball in Big 12 play was about 3 seconds, and that's he's fortunate that the offensive line held up as well as it did. Um, but you also saw the growth that he showed in that department against Texas. The Texas defensive line was absolutely insane. They were able to get the best of the Sun Devils offensive line for at least most of the first half before things kind of stabilized. But Levitt showed a lot of growth in that game. Like you said, his footwork could use some work, but that's something that coaching should do the job on, I guess. Marcus Arroyo is really known for that. Obviously, his work with Justin Herbert is renowned.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like the infrastructure is absolutely in place for Levitt to have a huge season. I think that you are right that they're probably going to factor in a little more like the zone read game, the RPO game, stuff to let Levitt unleash his athleticism and play in more of the short game. Kenny Dillingham did say that he wants to make life easier for Levitt by gifting him second and fives and third and threes instead of second and eights and third and sixes. That's probably going to be an emphasis. I believe that Dillingham teams typically aren't pass heavy, but I believe that there will be a pass first offense. Obviously, the running back room is very strong, but when you have a quarterback as great as Levitt, a wide receiver as great as Tyson, and more pass catchers behind them, like all Big 12 second teamers, Shimon Mateer, uh, a offensive line that is returning 4 or 5 starters, it's hard not to be a pass first offense in that environment, I believe. And I think that the natural progression that Levitt is expected to show is going to come to fruition. I honestly, I'm a little bit higher on him when it comes to his statistical output. I think he's probably going to throw for about 3,600 yards. I'm thinking 30 to 35 touchdown range, and I think he'll probably run about 500 yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns. I really do think that he has potential to have a 40 touchdown season. I've been one of the big proponents that he really has a chance to win the Heisman Trophy. Obviously, it's going to be a challenge because you inherently you're playing in the Big 12. The Big 12 is looked down upon a little bit, especially compared to the SEC and the Big 10. The schedule is going to be a sticking point because where's the game that he has his Heisman moment in, hypothetically? Uh, there's a few roadblocks, but I really believe that the talent's there, the coaching is there, the continuity is there, everything is there for Levitt to have a monster season, and I believe his ceiling is absolutely a Heisman winner and being a very high pick in the 2026 NFL draft.
Yeah, I
So,
could see that. I did also want to mention I had him 600 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. I do have the touchdown count a bit lower than you. I think you're higher on me on Levitt as well, but also I do think because ASU has about 3 good running backs, I think they're going to run it a couple times in the end zone. But yeah, I could definitely see him being a Heisman candidate. I think with Heisman, you know, the voters look for not only a good player but the explosiveness, and I think Levitt could definitely have a lot of that. And I'm just doing a mention too, even though I'm critical of some elements of, his playing style, he seems like a great dude. I've never met him, but he just seems really mature for his age. Even playing too, like you said, last year was kind of his kind of first breakout season. He looked really good a lot of times, and when he plays great, he's up there the best in college football. So I'm really excited for him, and I definitely think he'll be a first round pick in the NFL. I think he just fits that so well with his speed and quick release.
absolutely, the NFL teams look for players of his mold,
Mm-hmm.
especially right now. He's 6'2", So he's a little shorter than some teams might like, but with the success of shorter guys in recent years, it might not be as much of a sticking point. Uh, Obviously, he's a natural playmaker. He's just as good out of structure as in structure. He's great in play action. There are some nuances in his game, like you said, that he needs to improve, but with an NFL coaching staff, the ideal NFL coaching staff, he should be able to shore a lot of those up. And I absolutely do believe he's going to be a Sunday quarterback. I just think that there's too much talent, too much leadership, too much of the intangible there to pass up on. I think there's going to be one team or maybe multiple teams that are enthralled by him. We'll see what happens this season. Obviously, the games have to be played first, and that's the perfect transition into our last segment of the show today. So a lot of people believe that Arizona State is going to face a tougher schedule this season relative to last season. It's a little different. Last season, the schedule really picked up in the latter half of the slate. They had games against teams such as BYU and Kansas State. This time around, it's really the middle part of their schedule that is the gauntlet where they play Baylor, TCU, Utah, and Texas Tech in a 4 game stretch in 5 weeks. The Utah game obviously is going to be on the road. That's going to be a very tough game. But what's your expectations this season in terms of their overall record, their week by week output, and all of that, Tanner?
Yeah, so I'll go week by week. So they open up against NAU, a bit of an in-state battle. Um, I said in one of my pieces for ASU on SI, this is a possible trap game. I do think the Sun Devils win at the end of the day. I do think they take home the victory. I really do like Ty Pennington, NAU's quarterback. I think that there's a lot to like about his game, but I just do think that ASU is a better team, is a better roster. They get the week 1 win. Next up against Mississippi State, I do think this is a very favorable win. I don't think Mississippi State has the best defense. Really, they're not. It's just not a good unit, to be honest. So I do think this is a big game from the offense. Then we go to Texas State. Again, another win. So we're 3-0. And then I do have them losing to Baylor. I really think Baylor Bears match up very well against ASU. The Bears have a really good secondary, and as much as I love, receivers for the Sun Devils like Jordan Tyson, Jalen Moss, all these guys we've mentioned so far, I just think the Bears secondary just has that physical nature. I think one thing about ASU that makes them so good, besides the talented players we've mentioned, is that Kenny Dillingham mentality. His team just kind of has that physical, going to come at you and kind of just go at you. Kind of that grit nature reminds me a lot of the Lions. I do think Baylor has some of that, and I think they can match it. So I do think the Bears beat the Sun Devils. And then I do have them losing to TCU as well. I'm a big Josh Hoover guy. I thought he looked really incredible on tape. He has an amazing release. I think he has one of the best, just that ball zips out there. And I think after kind of a tough physical loss to the Bears, I think that game's going to take a lot out of ASU. I think they're going to drop one to TCU. So they're 3-2. I do think they beat Utah. Utah's a good team. I do think they take care of it. I like how they match up. And then I do think they get their revenge against Texas Tech and win. I think that game really stung last year. I think, again, Kenny Dillingham and his crew is going to bounce back. I'm going to skip the Houston game. I'll come back to that. I do think they beat the Cyclones in Iowa the next week. The Big 12 rematch, I think ASU takes care of business. Then they have West Virginia. You have a Big 12 game here. Very important game. I do think they win this one. I do like West Virginia's quarterback, but I do think the Sun Devils match up. And by this time, we're getting to the end of the season. I think I like the ASU schedule because the first couple weeks, you're going to try to get kind of these new guys in place on the offense and defense. I think by the end of the season, they're going to be clicking. So beating West Virginia, Colorado, U of A, I think are both favorable wins. Colorado, great coach with Deion Sanders, but they lost some players to the NFL, and I do think they beat U of A. So we go back to that Houston game, which I think is a big wild card. And I have them winning this, but I think it could be a possible loss. The reason is you have the quarterback Connor Weigman, who transferred there. he's a complete wild card. He really has amazing physical traits, and if he gets everything clicking, this could be a loss to ASU, or ASU could win. I don't. You play the team later. I wish they played them earlier, but you play them kind of middle of the season, so Connor Wagman is probably going to figure things out. So if they beat Houston, which I think they do, I have them going 10-2, 9-3 in the conference. If they lose to Houston, I have them going a game worse than that. But I think they lose to Baylor, TCU, um, and then maybe Houston. But I do have them beating Houston and only losing 2 games on the season.
All right, yeah. I'm on board with you with the 10-2 mark overall. I do have different games though. I believe that they do take care of business in the non-conference slate. Obviously, Mississippi State, they might be the worst team in the SEC, but it's still an SEC team. You're still going to get
Mm-hmm.
SEC physicality. There's always a chance for inclement weather in Mississippi, especially during hurricane season. That crowd is always rambunctious with the Cowbells. Obviously, one of the more underrated places in terms of home environment. I still believe that they are the better team, the more talented team.
Mm-hmm.
Texas State, they take care of business. Baylor and TCU, I do agree with you that those are games that they very well could lose, especially because Baylor and TCU have tougher non-conference schedules. Baylor plays SMU, who obviously just made the college football playoff a year ago, and they also play Auburn, who's considered one of the mid-tier SEC programs, which is still a good team. TCU plays SMU as well. So those teams are obviously very talented. I believe Baylor is one of those teams that really could sneak into the Big 12 title game this year. Their
Mm-hmm.
offense is
Yeah.
absolutely. You talked about their defense. Their defense did reload under Dave Aranda, and he's obviously defensive minded coach. But their offense, Sawyer Robertson, he's right there
Mm-hmm.
with Josh Hoover as one of
So
the
good. Yeah.
best quarterbacks in the conference outside of Sam Levitt. They have a
Mm-hmm.
great running backs room. They have Michael Trigg, who's one of the best tight ends in the country. The offense is explosive. It really could rival Arizona State. It possibly could, and the game's in Waco as well, so that's a challenge. But ultimately, I believe the Sun Devils take care of business in that game. I believe it'll be a shootout, kind of 38-35 result. Really could go either way, so that's absolutely valid on your end. Same with TCU. TCU, I believe they're one of the sleepers in the Big 12 this year. Their defense is still a question mark, but we saw a lot of growth from that team in the latter half of 2024, like we did with Baylor. Sonny Dykes is a great program builder. Like you said, Josh Hoover is right there as one of the best quarterbacks outside of Sam Levitt in the conference. There's a reason why Tennessee was going so hard to get him after they lost out on Nico Amileva. Um, I butchered his name, but it's okay. Um, so, yeah, I believe they do defeat TCU. I think that Friday night game in Tempe, the fan base is going to be fired up. The home opener of Big 12 play. I believe the Sun Devils do have the better defense, and that I think is a major factor. I think they probably win the game by 7 to 13 point range, which it'll be a fairly close game, but I believe the defense gets more stops at the end of the day on Arizona State's side. And the first loss of the season I actually had is to Utah after the bye week. They go to Utah, and like you said, Utah is a very good team, but the thing that really catches my eyes is the there's three things. So Utah in the trenches. So Arizona State does have a very strong trench group on both sides of the ball, but Utah might be a step up. Utah probably has the best offensive line and defensive line in the conference. Caleb Lomu and the crew on the Utah offensive line. There's at least three NFL prospects on that line. It's ridiculous. The defensive line obviously is great as well. Uh, Kyle Whittingham could be coaching his final season of college football, and obviously they're going to be looking for revenge after Arizona State's win in Tempe last season. Uh, they got Devin Dampier at quarterback, which is an upgrade over what they had last season, unquestionably, even with his concerns as a passer, potential question marks. He's a dynamic playmaker. Uh, some people have thrown out that he could be like a facsimile of what
Heisman.
Kyler Murray was. Like
Yeah.
he ran for 18 touchdowns last season. He had really his shortcomings as a passer were concentrated into a couple of games. Uh, when he threw a bunch of interceptions, but he has immense potential, absolutely immense potential. And I just believe that that's a game that the Sun Devils are going to slip up in, especially since they're playing in Salt Lake City. Arizona State has not had much success up there. If you remember 2023, that was a depleted Arizona State team. They still lost 55-3. 2021, they were up 21-7 at halftime with the Jaden Daniels. That was in Jaden Daniels' final year. That was one of their collapses. They lost 35-21. They gave up 28 unanswered points in the second half. 2019, they lost 19-3. They got almost completely shut out when they had a chance to win the Pac-12 South. There just hasn't been a lot of success up there, and I hate to use historical precedents in this context, but I believe that that's a factor as well. Um, so for the Texas Tech game, I believe that that's a victory. Texas Tech obviously has really beefed up on the defensive side of the ball. They have the second ranked transfer portal class according to 24/7, so they really are talented. And they really are probably ASU's best match when it comes to looking on paper. But I believe that Arizona State has the coaching advantage overall when it comes to looking at the coaching staff. I believe that Sam Levitt is significantly better than Baron Morton, and I believe that those are the two major factors. Plus, being at home can't hurt. So I believe that they win that game narrowly. And then Houston, you're right. Houston is a wild card. I put them in kind of the frisky sleeper tier when
Mm-hmm.
I did a piece on that. I believe that they really do have potential to be a 6 or 7 win team this year in year two of Willie Fritz. I think that they really did show growth over the course of the season in 2024. But I do believe the Sun Devils win that game. I believe that the talent gap is too much to overcome. I still believe there's a coaching gap, and I believe that's a resounding theme for the Sun Devils for most of the season. Um, Iowa State, I've had a really tough time grappling with this one personally. This one is extremely fascinating to me. Obviously, the Sun Devils absolutely clobbered them last season in the Big 12 title game. It was a 45-19 game, and that was without Jordan Tyson. So some people may say history is going to repeat itself. I actually happen to believe that the Sun Devils are going to lose to the Cyclones.
Mm-hmm.
I just believe going to Iowa, that's going to be another rowdy crowd. In early November, that's when the weather starts to change in that region. There's a lot of factors such as that, but above all else, the Matt Campbell factor. I think that Matt Campbell might be the only coach in the Big 12 that's currently above Kenny Dillingham when it comes to scaling where coaches are across the country. Uh, he's done nothing but great things for that program since day one on that job. That's not an easy program to win at, uh, but he's done just that. And you can look at the roster and say, oh, yeah, they lost Jalen Noel, they lost Jaden Higgins. But I believe that they're going to restock just fine. I believe that the culture they have built up is what Kenny Dillingham is looking for at Arizona State, and he's already accomplished to many, many degrees. But I just have a gut feeling. I think that Arizona State's a more talented team. I think that there's a lot of things going for them, but I just have a gut feeling that Iowa State's going to pull that one out and get revenge for last year. And the last three games, I believe, will all be victories as well. Rich Rodriguez is a great program builder, or at least he was. I mean, you could look at what he did at Jacksonville State and say he still is. But the talent gap is just too big there. I just don't see it being a very competitive game. Colorado is interesting to me. Another potential cold weather game late in the season. Colorado is a team that I believe is either going to be in the 9-3, 10-2 comp, where they're going to be scrapping for bowl eligibility. I believe there's not much
Mm-hmm.
middle ground in between that. So it either could be a trap game where Deion Sanders has his guys motivated to play spoiler, or it could be a true game that determines who plays in the Big 12 title game. So, regardless of the context, I believe that that will be a difficult game for them, even if they are more talented. And I still believe the Sun Devils win in Boulder. And with Arizona, rivalry games are always tricky, but I still think the Sun Devils are going to keep the Territorial Cup in Tempe and reach the Big 12 title game with a 10-2 record and 7-2 in conference play. So I believe we have much of the same opinion when it comes to the end result. We just had a little bit of deferring when it came to the games, but I believe that we're on the same page there at the end of the day, and I think a lot of fans had that expectation.
Yeah, I do kind of a couple of things. First of all, I've been predicting games for a while, and sometimes it's based on matchups. Sometimes, it's just kind of the vibe or the destination and kind of the weather. So the Iowa State is interesting. The reason, the thing with the Cyclones that's hard is I do think that, because I did a piece where I ranked the ASU opposing quarterbacks, I did have Iowa State's Ross Becht at the bottom of that list, but you never know going to Iowa State with the Cyclones. The one thing I'm interested to see kind of your take on this, Kevin, and I'll say kind of a bit of my piece and then give the floor to you, is I think the Sun Devils face a lot of good quarterbacks. Like I said, even in that QB list I did, Ross Becht, who was the last place, he is still a solid player. And they play a lot of really good quarterbacks. You have a mix. You have some pocket passes. You have some athletic quarterbacks. You mentioned like Devin Dampier with Utah. How do you think ASU matches up? Because like Devin Dampier, I think guys like Keith Abney, Javon Robinson, who are mentioning more of those kind of athletic corners will match up well. But I think ASU will struggle more up against the pocket passes. I'm just interested to see how the Sun Devils do because I think this is going to be a pretty good offense. I like Sam Levitt a good amount. I like these receivers a lot. But how do you think this secondary is going to do? Because I think quarterbacks, all their opponents have great quarterbacks.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think the defense. I've kind of been a proponent that the defense could be just as strong as the offense. I think that both really have potential to be top 15 to 20 units in college football,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even higher. And the strength of the Arizona State defense that you can argue that all three levels are as strong as one another. I don't think that there's a clear spot of the defense that's like clearly above the other two levels. And that's just a testament to what Kenny Dillingham has built in Tempe, what Brian Ward has built with his defense. There's incredible high end talent at all three levels. Like you mentioned, CJ Fight on the defensive line, uh, Clayton Smith off the edge, Keyshawn Elliott at linebacker, and Keyshawn Elliott will be a player that's in contention for awards at the linebacker position. He is he's going to be vital in all of these matchups that you talk about because he's the ideal do it all, jack of all trades linebacker. He can play in coverage. He's a great run stopper. You can even use him as a QB spy in a matchup such as
Mm-hmm.
Utah, where Devin Dampier is probably going to be running wild.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have Cyrus Fiasio, who is I butchered his name. I know I said that wrong. I need to learn. It's okay. He's a great run stopper. He secured 5.5 sacks, I believe, at San Diego State before he transferred to ASU 2 years ago. You have Jordan Crook, who Kenny
Yes, my
Dillingham and
guy.
Brian Ward have both been very complimentary of so far
Mm-hmm.
over the last several months. So that linebacker room is very strong as well. The secondary, uh, one of the biggest gripes with last year's defense was that the secondary gave up too many chunk plays, and a lot of that had to do with the lack of consistent edge rushing, which obviously gifted the
Mm-hmm.
quarterback more time to make second, third reads or just goes completely out of structure and make a crazy play. Like even Jake Retzlaff was doing that in the BYU Arizona State game, and he's not really a mobile guy. Um, but I believe that the edge group will be better, like I said, compared to last season, and that will do nothing but serve the secondary well because I believe that all four guys that are starting at well, without taking out nickel, Javion Robinson, I think Keith Abney, I think Xavier Alford, and I think that Ghost Rouser all could be future NFL players. I think that they all have distinct traits that they bring to the table. Like obviously Rouser's like an awesome ball hawk, uh, hard tackler. He brings that physical edge. Uh, Alford is all around great player. He does a little bit of everything. Abney, he's a little undersized, but he still brings that physical edge despite being a little smaller. Uh, he's very good in press coverage, very good instincts, very good technique. Uh, Robinson has grown a lot. He didn't play much at Washington State, and he kind of came into his own in Tempe over the last year. So there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of depth. We haven't even mentioned Nyland Green out of Purdue. He's a former five-star guy, and his college career hasn't worked out like many predicted it to. But who's to say he can't have a big final year of college of his collegiate career, especially under Brian Carrington and Brian Ward. Those guys seem to get the most out of their roster no matter what they have in front of them. So we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, I believe that they do have a step up in terms of the quarterbacks they face this year. But I believe that just like the running back room and the wide receiver room, the roster is built to be adaptable uh, depending on what matchup they have, depending on what packages they're facing, depending on the situation of the game, like down, distance, time of game. I believe that they have all the tools they need to be very successful on a consistent basis. And obviously, the games have to be played, but they do have a roster that is as talented as people say it is, and that should meet the expectations that people have for them. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, the one thing I like you mentioned is how versatile they are. Because I was thinking of doing a piece of like what NFL team is kind of like ASU, and I couldn't think of one. I think that's a huge compliment to Kenny Dillingham because his team can beat you in multiple ways. You know, a lot of the opponents ASU have, they're really good, but it's like, okay, if you take away this, you can win. Not really with the Sun Devils. If you somehow get Sam Levitt taken care of, passing wise, you have to worry about the running game. If you get the running game taken care of, you have to worry about the passing game. Defense has so many ways. The other thing as well is injuries do happen in football. I think the Sun Devils have amazing depth, really good depth. It's really, honestly, I think one of the best depth charts out there. So even if an injury does happen, I do think they are accounted for that very well. And we have mentioned in today's episode about new players coming in. There's a lot of returning guys, especially on both lines of the football, the O line and D line. Mainly, it's guys who were there last year or have been Sun Devils before they might have missed some time with injury. But I think that helps, especially with communication with the O line, calling out audibles, protections, things like that, defense as well. So, and I think that the new players like Kendrick Breedlove from Purdue, who I really like, he was so fun to watch. I think even guys like that fit in this ASU mold very, very well. So yeah, I'm just
Absolutely.
excited for this season. Do you
Absolutely,
think
yeah. What's up?
if so? We both have them um, kind of going to the Big 12. How do you think if they make the college football playoff, which I think they will, like last year? How do you think they match up against some of the other really good college football teams out there?
So I did do a preview because I was seeing a lot of people talking about like the potential for a ACC versus Big 12 champion meet matchup in the college football playoff bracket, which a lot of people believe is going to be Clemson and ASU. So I kind of talked about that
Ooh.
briefly, how they could match up against each other. It's really hard to predict, especially with the
Hmm.
realignment of the bracket for the college football playoff this season. Obviously, Arizona State is not guaranteed a top four seed this time around uh, because of the rules rearranging. So they could win the Big 12 and be the 12 seed. They could have to make a road trip to Texas to play them again. We don't really know right now, but I really do believe this in my heart that really the only team that I would count them out against in the nation is probably Ohio State. I think outside, like, I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that they'd go out and beat Alabama. I won't go out on a limb and say that they'd go and beat a team like Georgia. But I believe that they would have a fighting chance just because when you look at that roster, it's very deep, it's very balanced. It might not be quite as much as some of those teams, but you also have the high end talent to compensate for that. When you have players as great as Jordan Tyson and Sam Levitt and Xavier Alford, you have some of the like even in the like I hate using the video game analogy, but they have three players in the top 100 rated in that game. That's some serious high end talent, and that's probably going to serve you well in some of those matchups. And yeah, it's really if they sneak in, I believe that they do have a chance to win a game. maybe even 2 games. I'm not sure if they'll make it all the way, but that's what they're building towards, and they're doing a great job. They're way ahead of schedule. Nobody would have
Hmm.
predicted that they'd be in this position a year ago, even 10 months ago. So Arizona State fans should be absolutely thrilled with what's going on in Tempe, and that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, and I think one quick note, even if this season does not go to expectations, maybe they don't do as well as we predict them to, just because sometimes that's how football goes. This program is going to be great for a long time. Sure, players are going to leave for the draft, but I don't see Kenny Dillingham leaving anywhere. I think this is such a good infrastructure, so I think they're going to be competitive for years to come. I think they'll be one of these teams that we kind of mention as one of these good college football teams.
Absolutely, they are. I don't believe that Kenny Dillingham is sugarcoating things because I believe he always keeps it real with people when he's
Hmm.
talking to anybody. I believe that he's 100% serious about turning Arizona State into the next Clemson or Oregon, and I really do think that they're on that path to doing so. Even in the NIL era, it's so rare to see a team retain as many players as Arizona State has,
Oh,
especially with
yeah.
NIL and transfer portal and all that. It's just a testament to the culture that's been built. That's really something that I've hammered down so many times, but you can't hammer it down enough because that's just something that's invaluable. Players look at the program, they see the coaches really care about them, they see that it's a brotherhood of the roster is a brotherhood. It's not just guys that are looking to make their next step. It's guys that really are there, show up for each other each and every single day, that play hard each and every rep for the most part, that have the same goal in mind, have a common goal, and that's something that you really can't replicate. It's really very, very difficult to replicate, especially with the coaching staff in place, the player development factor. There's so many things that point towards ASU as a great destination for transfer portal recruits, for high school recruits, and I believe that what is being built is sustainable, especially as things continue to improve and become more intuitive under Graham Rossini, the athletic director, and the future couldn't be brighter to me.
Yeah, well said.
All right, yeah, appreciate that. So I believe that that's about uh, wrapped up for today's episode. Phenomenal talk. We covered a lot of bases, lots of information to go over, and I believe it was very productive. Do you have any last thoughts, Tanner?
Yeah, I just have really appreciated my time writing for ASU on SI, and it's just really cool to kind of learn about these different sports. Football, like I said, swimming, wrestling, golf has been, all that's been really fun, and it's been really cool to see that the culture ASU has built. Growing up in Arizona, ASU, like you kind of said, this is kind of almost a new era for some of the sports, especially with football, and it's really neat to be living in a era of this, and I appreciate all the work you do, and it's been really great to read your pieces, and it's great to come on here and talk about Sun Devil football.
That's great, man. I appreciate that very much, and I appreciate the work that you've been doing as well. And yeah, so uh, I was gonna bring up you have a new account for your media profile on Twitter X, right?
Yes, it is called Tan C3 Sports. There, I post. So the articles that come out, I basically repost them, and then I also kind of have sports thoughts as well with NFL stuff. I'll say. So yeah, it's been a neat account to talk about sports.
All right, perfect. You heard Tanner. Please give him a follow while he's building up his audience, and please give me a follow as well at khicks underscore
Hmm.
21. I will be posting video when I'm at practice. I will be posting press conferences. I will be posting almost all of my article content and those of Tanner and Caleb as well. Uh, it's been a great time, Tanner. Thank you so much for coming in today, and I will see all my audience tomorrow. Uh, Thank you so much. See you tomorrow.